Hey, Dr. Coleman, why did John Belushi die of a heroin overdose?
Well, it's a good question. It's a great story, actually quite illuminating. And of course, a lot of people might not even know who John Belushi is, but old people like me, he was like a god. I mean, he was on Saturday Night Live, one of the original crew, funniest guy around, one of the biggest movies of all time. The comedy was Animal House, and he was hilarious, but he had a horrible cocaine addiction. Horrible cocaine addiction. I mean, he just couldn't stop. It was the early 80s. The story was that he even hired somebody to follow him into the bathroom so he wouldn't use cocaine in the bathroom. It clearly didn't work. He really hadn't used many opioids at all. And then he started hanging out with some people who were. And so apparently what happened on the day that he died was that he used heroin for probably the first time. But he used it with cocaine. It used to be called freebasing. I'm not sure if they still use that term now. But he used such a high dose of cocaine along with the heroin that it turns out he wasn't tolerant to the heroin, so he took a fatal overdose of the heroin. But the cocaine was stimulating him, so it kept him breathing. And then the cocaine wore off because it's much shorter acting. The heroin was still there at a fatal level. His friend left. I think she'd injected him. And she thought he was fine because there he was awake and, but the cocaine wore off. Well, after the cocaine wore off, he still had the fatal dose of heroin in his system. Died. Tragic, horrible. He was such a good comedian. I hope people can learn from his experience, as we need to from any of these famous people who have overdoses and who die from this disease. The disease is treatable, and it didn't have to happen. So I feel sad when I think about famous people who could have had, a long life and could have been a great inspiration to others if they'd only, been able to get into recovery.